It's like they created a monster with her. She would be getting sued right now they're trying to bribe her. Instead of trying to give her money to shut the fuck up,
yeah,
they would sue her.
Yeah.
Have they tried to file anything? They probably have. They probably filed some bullshit law.
Because corporations in America now
they're leaning in.
Or what?
They're leaning into woke. Hardcore.
They're petrified
Yeah.
of some kind of backlash. I mean, you see with Disney now.
Woke Snow White, you are not going to believe what this woman publicized, but you are not entitled to call for Trump supporters to be harmed. Like, you are actually not entitled to do that. So let me just remind you, Rachel Zegler, of what the map looks like, just so you can understand when your Disney movie is coming out, how many people you are wishing harm upon. Like, this is America right now. So if you are going to just be appealing to the people that you see represented by blue on this map to come watch your Disney princess film, then so be it. But I have to say, you have to be the worst endorsement that Disney has ever made, because you just can't close your mouth. You just can't be sane, even when you do open your mouth. I think this girl does not deserve a feature-length film, but rather she deserves to be in a padded cell. I truly do believe that. There's something wrong with her. She's disturbed, she's unhappy, and she thinks it's about feminism and the patriarchy and about abortion. But the reality is she's just not stable, like the majority of people in Hollywood. They're just not stable human beings. And it's this rat race to constantly be seen and to constantly say things that are like just atrocious, because they're looking for attention and they can never have enough of it. They can never have enough of it. So I hope it cost her job. I'm sure that Disney must have some clause in there that she's not allowed to go out and just eliminate her entire audience by being a psychopath and by calling for harm and no peace for Trump supporters. I really do hope she gets dropped from the film. I think in the end they'll make more money if they drop her and replace her with someone else, and they will do if they go through with this. And if you are somebody who voted for Trump, or you're just someone who generally has good morals and principles, I would highly advise that you boycott this film. No matter how much your children love Snow White, no matter how much you love a Disney remake, this is not the film for you.
Like, seriously, it's funny. And by the way, so is making fun of Snow White. It's funny. I'm sorry that the Snow White movie sucked, guys. I'm sorry. I'm not sorry at all that we forced, basically as a company, Daily Wire forced Snow White into production again.
They flew an executive, one of the producers, out to go visit personally with Rachel Zegler to say, could you please take that down? Because we understand you can have your political views, but those aren't really helpful when you're trying to build an audience for a movie. Maybe you could save them for like your diary and your friends, but like maybe not, maybe just take the tweet down. And she wouldn't. And then they had to hire a special media consultant for her to follow her around all the time and make sure she didn't continue shitting on Snow White and the prince and young love and women who want to get married and Steven Spielberg, the executive producer of her previous movie, and white people who she claims wanted to know if she was really a Latina on her first movie. And like, the list was really long. And then the son of that producer who got on the plane to go over and say, would you please, for the love of God, take this down? And she wouldn't, was all on Instagram yesterday admitting it all. The Variety report being like, of course, what would you do when you have this narcissistic nightmare trying to ruin a film that you've put hundreds of millions of dollars into, that's employing all these working class people? She refused to keep her fat mouth shut.
So Joe Rogan just called Rachel Zegler a monster. And no, this isn't some wild internet rumor. This actually happened, and the internet is foaming at the mouth. But let's rewind, because this whole disaster didn't start with Rogan. It started with Rachel and her nonstop "I'm not like other Disney princesses" press tour. You know, the one where she dragged the original Snow White, threw shade at Prince Charming, and basically said the movie was about female empowerment, whatever that means in corporate speak. And people gave her a pass. At first, young actress, big role, nerves, we get it. But then she kept going, like aggressively going. Every interview felt like a TED Talk from someone who just discovered Tumblr feminism in 2015. And that's when Rogan snapped. On his podcast, in front of millions, he straight up roasted her. And when Bill Maher joins in to tell you to calm down, you know you've officially become a meme. Rachel Zegler was supposed to be Disney's next big thing. Plucked from obscurity, starring in West Side Story, praised by Spielberg himself, the whole fairy tale. But the second she opened her mouth about Snow White, it all started unraveling. She wasn't just promoting a movie. She was tearing down the original, calling it outdated, mocking the love story, saying the prince was a creep. Like, ma'am, it's called Snow White, not Snow Woke. No one asked for a gritty reboot with a side of disdain, and the internet noticed fast. Suddenly, clips of her interviews were everywhere. Not because people loved her, but because they couldn't believe how smug she sounded. The eye rolls, the awkward silences, the way every answer felt like it came from a college essay on patriarchy. It was a masterclass in how to lose the crowd before the movie even drops. And Disney? Silent. Watching their shiny new lead actress tank their $100 million remake with each empowering soundbite. That's when Rogan said what a lot of people were already thinking, but didn't have the platform or guts to say out loud. Joe Rogan doesn't usually care about Disney drama. Let's be real. The man's too busy talking about aliens, elk meat, and DMT. But even he couldn't ignore the circus around Rachel Zegler. And when he finally addressed it, he didn't tiptoe. He called her out for what he saw: arrogance, entitlement, and the kind of fake progressivism that makes people allergic to Hollywood. He went in, called her a monster, not just because of her comments, but because of how proudly she stood by them. According to Rogan, she wasn't trying to be inspiring. She was trying to be better than everyone, better than the fans, better than the original film, better than the entire idea of storytelling that isn't soaked in politics. And honestly, he kind of had a point, because this wasn't about empowerment. It was about control. Zegler didn't just want to reinvent the character. She wanted to erase everything that came before her. And in Rogan's eyes, that's not growth. That's ego. He even mocked her interviews, her tone, her constant "I'm not like the other girls" energy. And the audience? They were eating it up. Laughter, clapping, nodding. The whole Rogan army united in collective cringe. And just like that, a small PR blunder became a cultural punchline. The Rachel Zegler situation isn't just a one-off. It's not just one actress getting a little too confident in her press interview. No. This is what happens when Hollywood confuses activism with arrogance, and audiences finally start pushing back. Let's be honest. This woke fairy tale remake was already hanging by a thread. The second people heard that Snow White would be independent, won't be saved by a man, and is a leader who knows what she wants, the internet sighed in unison. Not because those are bad, but because we've heard this same exact script 1,000 times. And it's never authentic. It's a checklist, a focus group fantasy, a way for studios to pretend they care while cashing in on controversy. And Zegler, she became the face of that fake empowerment, not because she meant to, but because she played right into it. Every interview was a lecture. Every answer oozed with superiority. You could almost hear her inner monologue. "I'm doing something brave. I'm changing the world. Girl, you're playing a fairy tale character. Calm down." So when Rogan called her out, it wasn't just about her. It was about the whole system. The manufactured outrage, the anti-male messaging disguised as feminism, the idea that trashing a classic somehow makes you a hero. And when Bill Maher, a guy who usually defends progressives, jumps in to roast the same person, that's when you know the pendulum is swinging back hard. The public is tired of being scolded for liking old movies. Tired of every remake turning into a social experiment. Tired of stars who act like they're above the roles they're being paid millions to play. And Rachel, whether she knows it or not, became the scapegoat. It's not even personal anymore. It's symbolic, and that might be the scariest part for her. Here's the wild part. Even after all the backlash, the mockery, the Rogan takedown, Rachel Zegler still isn't backing down. No apology, no clarification, not even a half-hearted "I was taken out of context." Nothing. Instead, she's doubling down like she's starring in Snow White and the 7 PR managers who quit. Every new clip that surfaces, same tone, same energy, still preaching, still rolling her eyes at the classic, still talking like she's rewriting cinema history. And honestly, it's kind of fascinating, like watching someone confidently steer a ship that's already halfway underwater. People warned her, fans begged her to stop. Even some Hollywood insiders started whispering that maybe, just maybe, it's not a great idea to insult the movie you're supposed to promote. But Rachel? She's acting like she's above it all. Like the criticism only proves how right she is. And that's the moment Rogan zeroed in on. That smug certain, that I know better than you attitude. That's what made her a monster, in his word. Not her politics, but her pride. Because at the end of the day, it's not about being woke. It's about being watchable. And Zegler right now, she's not giving leading lady, she's giving lecture series. At first, people wanted to root for Rachel. New face. Huge opportunity. A Latina Snow White. It should have been a win. But now, even her own fans are throwing in the towel. The same people who once defended her are now posting clips with captions like, "How did we get here?" The vibe has shifted hard. Comment sections are brutal. People aren't just disappointed, they're embarrassed. Embarrassed that someone with so much potential chose to alienate the very audience that wanted to see her succeed. Even casual moviegoers, the ones who don't follow Hollywood drama, are side-eyeing the trailers like, is this a parody? And here's the kicker. It didn't have to be like this. No one asked Rachel to become the face of modern feminism. No one told her to trash Disney's legacy on camera. She chose that lane. She built that hill. And now, she's stuck on top of it, waving her little empowerment flag while the crowd slowly walks away. Meanwhile, Disney's in damage control mode. Leaks, reshoots, whisper campaigns, anything to keep the film from flopping. But the internet's memory is long, and Zegler's sound bites are forever. Because once you become the moment, you also become the lesson. Behind the scenes, it's chaos. Disney execs are holding emergency calls, marketing teams are re-editing trailers, and publicists are pretending everything is fine while sweating through their overpriced blazers. Snow White was supposed to be a legacy reboot, a safe, nostalgic, family-friendly win. Instead, it's a meme, a risk, a potential flop, and it all centers around Rachel Zegler. Not the writing, not the effects, not the cast of magical creatures instead of dwarfs. Nope, it's all about the star who won't stop talking. Studios spend millions trying to generate buzz. Rachel gave them buzz. All right, just not the kind anyone wants attached to a Disney princess. And now, they're stuck. They can't recast her. The movie's shot. They can't silence her. She's too deep in her activist era to care. All they can do is sit back, watch the fire spread, and pretend it's part of the plan. Insiders are already leaking regrets. People close to the project are saying off the record that no one expected this, that Rachel was different in audition, that once the cameras stopped rolling, the media persona took over and they lost control. And Rachel? She's still smiling, still tweeting, still showing up in interviews like she's unaware that she's become Hollywood's cautionary tale. Either she's in complete denial, or she knows exactly what she's doing and just doesn't care. Which is worse? Honestly, it's hard to say. But what we do know is this: Disney gambled on a new kind of princess, and they might have just created their biggest villain yet. Not in the movie, in real life. What's wild is that this isn't just about one actress or one movie anymore. Rachel Zegler has become a symbol not for progress, not for representation, but for what happens when Hollywood confuses ego for evolution. Because, let's be honest, audiences aren't anti-woke, they're anti-fake. People don't hate strong women. They hate when strong just means rude, condescending, and allergic to nuance. And Rachel? She walked into that stereotype and made it her personal brand. It's almost poetic. Snow White, a story about kindness and humility, reimagined by someone who seems allergic to both. You couldn't write a better irony if you tried. And Hollywood's starting to get the message. The people are no longer clapping just because someone says the right buzzwords. If the story sucks, if the attitude's off, if the lead actor talks down to the audience, they'll walk away, no matter how important the project claims to be. Zegler thought she was ahead of the curve. Turns out, she was the curve, the one fans are now steering away from. So when Joe Rogan called Rachel Zegler a monster, it wasn't some random outburst. It was a breaking point, a we've had enough moment. The kind of public slap Hollywood rarely gets, and even more rarely deserves. And the reason it hit so hard? Because people agreed with him. Rogan didn't say anything that millions weren't already thinking. He just had the guts to say it into a mic with 100 million listeners. He called out the arrogance, the victim complex, the tone-deaf lecturing, and while the usual headlines screamed misogyny, the comment sections told a different story, one filled with clapping emojis and, finally, someone said it. Because this wasn't about politics. It wasn't about being left or right. It was about being exhausted. Exhausted with celebrities who act like they're educating the masses, while alienating the very fans who gave them a platform. And Rachel? She just kept talking, like she couldn't hear the avalanche coming down the hill. But Rogan's words weren't a pebble. They were a trigger, a signal that the culture's shifting, and if Hollywood doesn't want to be left behind, they might want to listen instead of lecture. In the end, Rachel Zegler won't be remembered for West Side Story. She won't be remembered for her voice, her breakout role, or even the millions Disney threw behind her. No, she'll be remembered as the girl who talked herself out of a fairy tale. And the wildest part? She still thinks she's the hero of this story. But this isn't a hero's journey. It's a cautionary tale about what happens when Hollywood props up someone who isn't ready. Not for the spotlight, but for the responsibility that comes with it. Because being a lead isn't just about screen time and close-ups. It's about grace, humility, knowing when to speak and when to shut up. And Rachel? She missed that memo, loudly. Rogan saw it, Maher saw it, the fans saw it, and Disney, well, they're seeing it now as they watch what should have been a billion-dollar franchise spiral into meme territory. But maybe that's fitting. Maybe this is the reboot Disney actually needed, not a new Snow White, but a reminder that audiences aren't dumb, that we don't need lectures with our popcorn, that we can spot fake empowerment from a mile away, because real strength doesn't come from trashing others. It doesn't come from tearing down the past, and it definitely doesn't come from playing the victim every time someone dares to disagree. So here we are, a massive studio, a viral meltdown, and a lead actress who still doesn't get why the crowd stopped cheering. And honestly, maybe that's the most Hollywood ending of all.